Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another sort of installment in a quick view series. We're back on the oddity, which is, it came from the workbench, volume 66. It is this gentleman right here. He is silvery. His motor is very small. He is the Banshee. He is at a defined, definitive crossroads in his process right now, which is, he looked, honestly, pretty good in the Ghost Ride. We are, today, by virtue of, I'm not even going to call it poor time management. I'm just going to call it absolutely too much to do. We should change this from the red. I really need to change the battery in this, but I refuse. We're mid Ghost Ride. His body is less than half painted. It only has the paint on the inside. This guy is going to be patinaed on the outside. So he is sort of a diffused silver green with the window masks still in, because that's as far as I got. Why is that as far as I got? Because I was painting one of his stablemates, the Voodoo Ranger, and encountered something I've never encountered before with an overspray mask. I've tried putting heat gun to it. I've tried everything. It doesn't come off. This was either on a shelf in the back of the warehouse for too long. You have to scrape it off. And then it'll tear off little bits, and they're nearly impossible to get off. I don't know if you can tell. That's a 3-tone. These are all blue. But proof how the human eye works. I can sort of see the delineation there. That doesn't look blue at all anymore. That looks like steel gray. It came out all right. This is Glidden Max Flex. This is Glidden Max Flex as well. Except for the hood is duplicolor vinyl and fabric blue. Literally, I think it's called medium blue. It looks like gunmetal gray. So, we'll blame that for why this isn't done. So, I still do think that at some point I would prefer an underdrive gear or an overdrive gear to take away some of the underdrive in the rear to take us down to that closer to 20-ish%, 20 to 22%. 28.8% feels like a lot. It still feels like a lot. He's going to be running a 2200 pack today because the 850s that are on the Charger right now are at like 50%, and these are all lower. So for some reason, I used up all the 850s. There's a Charger kicking on. So this was pointed out by at least one person, more than one, and while we were out there, I kind of knew that the KLR being of that pattern was not going to be super accepting of 28.8% net underdrive, and I believe that was correct. So as this guy is a little bit of an oddball, Banshee is a little bit of an oddball, we're going to go a little bit of an oddball. We're going to grab whatever is on the rack, and that's exactly what I did. One set was already mounted. I swapped over a set of wheels, and then another set, all I had to do was mount them up on wheels. They already had inserts in them. So, in no particular order, upgrade RC razor wires, which you are still looking for a fitment for because they're a little big. We'll see how they do here right now. These are on the upgrade RC dual stage, which are quite soft. They're a little slidey on the wheel, but none of these wheel sets are particularly heavy, so we're not going to be adding a ton of weight to this guy. For those who don't remember, I just did a thing. You know what? These foams are firm enough. We can use these. For those who don't remember, he was weighed before with an 850 pack, and he is now fitted with a 2000. With a 2000, he's 3.5 pounds, which is 1,620 grams. 1,620. So it's not heavy. This set is, oh, tear, please. Tear, please. Tear, please. 676. Like, I don't think any of the sets that we're going to try 3 sets. I don't think any of them are overwhelmingly heavy. This is Mickey Thompson RC four-wheel drive X2SS, Mickey Thompson MTZ 1.9s. Everybody is on a deep offset wheel, the 3 sets, because we tested him on that gold and chrome Injora set, which are deep offset. These are fitted with some particularly soft 3D printed inserts, and at his weight, I don't think it's going to be a problem. 682 grams, so 6 more grams in those than there are in there. And our 3rd set will be the aforementioned Injora wheel. I remounted them. These are Reef's Sabres, and these Reef Sabres are fitted with the inserts that came stock with the Power Hobby Defenders, the dual stages that come in there, because the outer on those is particularly soft. So we have 3 really quite soft sets, 650. So definitely no kilo of wheelos in the house today. What did I say? 1600, 1620 for him, and between 650 and 675 for the wheel sets. We could definitely get away with more weight at the corners, but I don't think we explicitly need to, because the motor is such a high winder. I don't think kilo wheelos is the answer here. I don't think kilo wheelos is always the answer. I just think that usually we have more than 1,600 grams sitting right here. So, I mean, that means that with the heaviest set here, he'll be just under 2,300 grams at the heaviest. And I know that there are many that say lightweight always, but there is 100% a point of diminishing returns. When you get too heavy, you know it. And when you get too light, you kind of know it too. It can't get the suspension to press its way down. I still don't know if the springing is 100% right or if it's over damped. It felt pretty good. I feel like what we're going to do, let's go small to big. Let's go small to big. Out of curiosity, as mounted, like barely 115. So right at 4.5. Sabres are on these like 124. So a little over 4 3/4. And then the razor wire in that oddball territory, right about 128. Pretty much truth in advertising, 5.00 inches. So 1/4 inch jumps, jumping about 6 millimeters a pop. I think this is a pretty good way to go. 4.5, 4 3/4, 5 inch. So that way, what we've done is we've introduced additional variables, because we can't make... Let me analogize for you for a moment. I had a recent comment on one of the channel's most viewed videos where I did the Fusion 1200 and the Fusion 1800, both the SEs. I did them head to head. And I received someone that complained quite loudly that I didn't use the same pinion, because I guess in that person's thinking, in their thought process, that there is that the 1800 and the 1200 are completely different things. Like, they're different offerings from that manufacturer. When the reality of it is, this one, and if you imagine a device in my hand right here is an 1800, this one is about 50% faster than this one. No other changes made. Okay? What I was there to test is, how does the controller, because they have the same controller, how does that controller manage 1200 kV versus how does that controller manage 1800 kV? Because as I have pointed out in the past, when you're using a radio of whatever source that radio might be, this is your full trigger pull. This is 0% throttle and this is 100. So it's about the fidelity, right? When you go like this, say we're going to call this 100% and we're going to break it into 10 even increments for the ease of math. 10 increments of this is 180 kV per increment whereas the other one is 120. So you have more fidelity. Oh, well, you didn't use the same pinion. You're not even comparing the same thing. Look, you match the KV to the final drive ratio of the vehicle. If we're using the same vehicle to test both motors, we have to change the gearing to try to make the 1200 more at the speed of the 1800. I didn't think that that would be something that would require explanation. But here we are. So, I am making no changes here other than tire, and will fully acknowledge that I am running a 4.5 inch tire, a 4 3/4 inch tire, and a 5 inch tire. Ordinarily, one would make gearing adjustments to accommodate for these changes. And I'll tell you right now, this is not speculation, this is not guesswork, this is not any of those things. This vehicle is going to feel more controllable. It's going to feel more that like there's more granularity and fineness to the control on this tire than it is on this tire. Now, I can't really gear this down much more than it already is. For those who don't remember, 1396 on the spurred opinion. We are 81 to 1 in the front and 113 to 1 in the rear, because that is 3,000 kV on 3S. That's a lot of RPMs. So, it is much like, oh, this is on. So that is much like saying, oh, you can't compare, nope. You can't compare A and B because C. No. The thing I can never really get used to, 3D printed inserts are effectively segmented. So when you roll on them, they go whoop, whoop, whoop. And also, while we're at it, it's a spicy morning, guys. It's a spicy morning. We're comparing three radically different things. They're all the different compounds. They have different types and styles of dual stages in these two. These have 3D printed. They're all going to behave differently. And again, I don't think I should have to explain this, but here we are. They're supposed to be. We're testing three different things to find out which of the different things works better. The 1200 versus 1800 thing has kind of stuck with me because it's such a phenomenally bad take. It's so stupid that, like, if we run the same pinion in the 1200, it's going to be about 50% slower. You wouldn't run the 1200 in the same vehicle that you run an 1800 in. Anyway, we're going to look for the differences. And when we're looking for the differences, I want to see, am I going to notice, because the rollout, I've measured this in the past, the rollout is pretty significantly different between that and that. I think you can see why. But it is also going to affect the geometry in every possible way, because it does indeed change the geometry. Those little invisible triangles, the triangle that connects from there, and then we go down to the axle, and then we go back like that. We're moving that triangle away from the ground. Is it going to help with the approach? Will it matter on the approach with a tire that's half an inch taller than another one? I don't know. Will it matter with three different compounds? We don't live in a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world where I have Baja MTZs in 5 different sizes, in 1/4 inch increments, and I can test them in 1/4 inch increments. And I mean, I guess that's better, because then it gives us more things to try. These are 3 sets of tires that are currently homeless, which is why they are subject to this little mini tire testival. And we've not found a home for the Sabres. We've not found a home for the Rock Razor Wires. And my fear is that it's going to be Baja MTZs because they're shorter. It will take more advantage. I think a 4.5 inch tire is near perfect for a portal. It might get us a little scrapey in the front. The rocks will certainly tell. and the batteries are at about 80%. So at 2200 it is. And I almost forgot. How can I forget? I haven't gotten our good friend the Cobalt bag out in a while. Sabers in the bag. Razor wires in the bag. Fully charged in the bag. Out to the course we go with our man Banshee mini tire testival. Let's do that thing. I will tell you this. Up in that, you get up around that like 70% throttle point, and if you were just a little bit louder, and it's all gear noise, you can't hear the Fusion at all, it's pure gear noise, he'd be a guy that you'd have to trailer, you'd carry him from rock to rock. It's crazy that in camera, he is like a vibrant jade green, and when I look over the top of the camera, he's this like dilute, diffuse, swampy algae green. Crazy. 176280 bona fide predator weather, full overcast, looking real overcasty. He drives on X2SS exactly the way you would think. All right, that's already, from just right there, that's already an improvement over the KLRs, which is no hack on the KLRs. It's just that the amount of overdrive and how little PSI we're generating. Ground pressure on this guy is very low, so we're really squishing out. And again, we try to go in, we try to enter with as little velocity as possible. I'm watching that bag. The bag, insert compliance, tire and insert compliance, is great right up until it halts forward motion. So I am deliberately using as little throttle input as possible because I want to see where these position. As I have pointed out in the past, an incline, any incline struck with sufficient velocity becomes a jump. So most any number of go fast vehicles could make it up Slick Rock fairly easily. You give them enough run up and you don't care what happens to the parts involved. So we're trying to do it as slowly as possible. He's quite snappy on these. We're real low. Watch that rear. It's gonna be kind of tough competition because those inserts are acting real. Look at that front tar. They are acting real soft. Middle school desk. I went to live in faraway mythical land of Pennsylvania. Was on inserts even softer than these in Baja MTZs. And it pained me to give that rig away on those tires, but I did it. And I'm a little part of me was hoping that we had recreated it here. Okay, that's pretty much a straight over. Ooh, that was a good grab. Get that tire up. Yeah, it's real nice. It's real nice. I was going to say what we'll do is we'll just look at who does the best here roundabouting on Slick Rock. And then we'll take that one and see if the illusion is shattered at other stations. And we're still going to do that. But, man, those other guys are really going to have to do something. Because the MTZ are doing pretty great. Right there, a little low front height, but goes through. Descending is an absolute non-issue. Does not lift the front. We have good compression. We have good compliance. We come around real high. I'm going to stay in it. Ooh, that is sideways. We going to snap out at all? No. I can feel passenger front trying to dive down. Yeah. That's mullet powers activate right there. Comes around, gets it over. Ooh, that was strong good. Ooh, that 4.5. That 4.5 lets us use more power band, even than the barely 4.6s that were on there. Analogy? Oh, I don't mind if I do. Anyone can ride 100 miles on a bicycle. Anybody. If you are physically capable of riding a bicycle, you can ride 100 miles on one. It will be uncomfortable. And towards the end of it, it will 100% be a mental game. Where am I going with this? When you ride a bicycle 100 miles, the fitment, how that bicycle fits your body, is everything. It's not about your physical capability. It's about how does the bike fit to make that bike less uncomfortable, because there's no such thing as a conventional bike. We're not talking recumbents or anything like that. There's no such thing as a conventional bicycle that is fundamentally comfortable. You get used to it. The bicycle breaks you in. So it's these tiny, tiny little changes. You can go from a handlebar, a 44 centimeter handlebar, to a 46 centimeter bar, 2 centimeters. The handlebar is now less than 3/4 of an inch wider. And it will make all the difference in the world, because you only have so much mental strength that you can muster to complete this task. So anything that the other little things can do to add up to comfort is key. Going from a 4.6 to a 4.5 is genuinely a notable difference. This insert is not appreciably softer than the Halo Ultra Air Downs that were in the KLR, but it is noticeable. The X2 SS is inarguably more grippy in this pattern than the KLR V2 in gold. So it's these tiny little things that add up to big changes. So why not, while you're at it, make a big change? Now, these are not a designed and manufactured combo. Neither were the MTZs. The upgrades are. Those are the upgrade dual stage foams for the upgrade razor wires. These just happen to be a near perfect fit, and for whatever reason, I guess the thickness of the carcass of the Power Hobby Defenders, these inserts are really narrow, and they basically fit these sabers perfectly. So, I have no genuine preference here. Whoever gets the call, and whatever tire ends up being the tire, whatever wheel ends up being the wheel, there's only one thing that is for sure, which is it's going to get 6mm hubs on the rear and the stock 10mm hubs in the front, which is going to drop us about 8mm. Yes, which is going to drop us about 8mm, between 6 and 8mm, depending on the actual thickness of the hub on that wheel. I can swap them to 10s. It's getting 10s in the front and 6s in the rear to drop at 8mm, because it is currently sitting about 5mm wider in the rear. This is really only a problem if you need to go through gates. With near 30% underdrive, we can spin this around. I don't notice a huge speed increase. The fidelity, though, I can definitely feel that my finger is in a slightly different position. Okay, I will say this. I think that the outer foam on the dual stage on here could be even softer, and those are very soft, or just switch to a single stage in the front. Leave the dual stage in the back. The dual stage in the back feels great. The front, it feels like we're a little pushy out. I genuinely, I like the size of this tire, appearance-wise. I like this more than I like the MTZ. I think the MTZ, we do have to remember, a tire and an insert have a little handshake time where they got to get to know each other. And the 3Ds and the MTZ, they got to know each other really, really quickly. There's a little bit more slush in the front. That is not to be unexpected. I think I'm turning into one of those. Below a certain weight, and I don't know what that exact weight is. It is a number that floats out in space. Below a certain weight, open cell foam is just objectively better than 3D printed because it doesn't do that like wheel camming. It's like driving on a cog. It turns it back round, and it makes that behavior profile so much more predictable. And I think that this is one of the leading reasons that companies like Crawler Innovations are still finding success, because the 3D printed insert is more convenient and it is more tunable from the beginning. But mark me, and I know that there are a couple of companies and folks already doing this, 3D printed inner or sidewall support with a open cell outer. Because comp rigs don't really care about the environment as much. If that outer foam breaks down, you just replace it. But I'm starting to think now that the hybrid foam is the wave. I don't feel any sideways floppiness here. We've got that little bit of height, so it might carry the front end over a little. Feels about the same. It's a little more abrupt. I feel that this is probably because tuning to the ultralight, we're right in the same spot. But you know what? It feels, I don't know. Want to see what that front, see? Kind of slides out a little. But that outer on the dual stage has got more than enough to grab it. We get a little bit guided by the terrain, but then we come around, front axle's down. It's that best worst case scenario. I think the cooperation is a little closer with the MTZ and the 3D print, but this is also quite good. The Sabre is singing a sweeter song than it did during its initial test, which is not to say that it was bad. It was just that I could tell. Much like the tire that's going to follow this one up, we're talking about tires that are real specific in their fitments. I still stand by the Tusk. The J-Concepts Tusk is wholly indifferent. If it fits your vehicle, like physically, it will give you a level of performance that you will be happy with. There have been so many tires that I have tried where immediately I go, not for this build. And it has happened many times, and I love those kismet moments where we're testing and we're doing a testival, mini testival, whatever we're doing, and we get to a tire and we go, oh my God, that's it. That is the one. Middle school desk referenced earlier. Those MTZs on those foams was the Fassbender meme, perfection. Like, I could not bear to remove them from that vehicle. I do not regard the MTZ nor the Sabre in its configuration with the Power Hobby dual stage as perfection. They are good, and they are better than the KLRs and the Air Downs, but we strive constantly for that combo that just goes, wow. Okay, if I had to say I was going to pick a favorite based on appearance, it's got to be the Razor Wire. He looks like a hopped up mud truck. He looks like a mud truck, and I like the elegant simplicity of the deep 105s. First one we've gotten a little bit of lug noise out of. There was a tiny little bit of look at these big boys. 5-inch big boys. As I said, we're dealing with different compositions in the dual stage. The dual stage that are fitted inside the Sabres are very traditional. Open cell outer, closed cell inner. The closed cell inner has got that real EVA foam feel. like almost where they feel a little slickery when you rub the surface of the foam. These are the Upgrade RC ones, which the outer feels like, it kind of feels like hairbun material. It kind of feels like nylon. It looks like foam, but it feels different. So it is different. It's leaf blower morning over at the post office. I think that's a leaf blower. And it's these moments I wish that I was in Los Angeles County where they banned the gas leaf blower. I do like an electric leaf blower. God, it feels like he's constantly growing closer. I mean, I know the noise canceling is going to get a lot of it, but there's no way it can get all of that. That is crazy loud. All right. Try not to get too spicy right in through here. Now, the sidewall support, these do not drive like they're that much taller. Like, I mean CG-wise. Through that right there, of the three, now they're throwing stuff in the dumpsters. Of the three, the razor wire is crisp. You would think, I would think, that they would feel a little more uncertain. And then I have to remind myself. Okay, we got a little bit of angry pirate ship noise. Oh! Mm-hmm! Oh, did you come in right at the end and just snatch it? You notice some builds are leg lifters. They throw a hand up and it stay there. Not these. Right through here. Gets it scrubbed down. Oh. Do you remember when I said we want that? Wow. I think it's a beautiful morning, leaf blowers aside, and I feel like we finally found a home for the razor wire. And get right there. Yeah. Hopefully. And should we continue and not falter, neither the MTZ nor the Sabre will be upset, because we're talking a true 475 and a 4.5. So they have that broader range of fitments, while the 5-inch tall tire is always a question mark. Get up. Get up. It's pretty good. Well, body trim necessary. You know, you throw on 1/2 inch more tire. You might have to trim it a little. These have, compared to the other two, just I'm going to say it, a radically increased level of just forward drive. Right over that lip. Ah, so good. And again, this says nothing of the Sabres nor the MTZ. 28.8% rear underdrive. 1,620 grams. And of that portion, like of that 1,600, what is sprung? I'd say 1,000 grams, maybe 1,000 grams. I think biggest takeaway on the day so far is that a 2,200 pack feels little different from an 850. And we have like 3 positions that we can run the battery in. I want to try all those positions. I want to try them with a 650. I've got a 3 650. Like, find that point of diminishing returns. How much sprung weight can we remove before the tires stop working? Now, I'm not a math guy. I'm an arithmetic guy, but I'm not a math guy. So I don't know if there's some sort of algebraic formula out there for what happens, hey, how's it going? What happens to weight split, anti-squat, all of the what happens to all those factors when a bunch of underdrive is thrown at it? Like, does overdrive or underdrive make a tire think that the vehicle is heavier or lighter? I don't know if that's a ridiculous question. On the one hand, I feel like it isn't. How high? That's set down though. That's set down though. I don't know if we can stay on the face here. I think we're down off. I've said before, one might remember, the lower you can get down on that face, the more you're doing with, the harder you're working with it. Now let me tell you something. Ectobody is not the best self-rider in the world. It's pretty good. Until you throw 3003S at it and some 5-inch tall tires. He just waves. Look at that cross up. The front is trying to push it down. So we're going to stay up a little higher. We're going to come across right here, and I want to see what this balance transfer looks like. That's mullet stuff. That's mullet stuff. I just drove straight in. Gave it no help. Is a 4.5-inch tire going to side hill better than a 5-inch? Yeah. It is. I think it's starting to feel like we're a little bit oversprung. I'm going to try to come in right there. Let me go a little bit higher on the entry. I have pointed this out in the past with regards to things like UA1. There's a couple platforms that I think this applies to. Vehicles of greater capability are not easier to drive. They can do more, but at the same time, they require more. So this guy being so heavy into forward drive, you can't be the best at everything. He's so light. We could keep that front end down with some more weight in the front, but I don't want to put more weight in the front. I feel like the ability to be deliberately arbitrary is a bonus and a benefit of things like tiny toy cars that go slow. You can make a decision to just do what you like, because we are not beholden. Show me. Trying to get passenger rear up a little bit. I think we got squidged a little bit by angry pirate ship noise. In this case, it wasn't just noise. We were at near full lock. Passenger front was really diving in to the back of that fender, and I could feel a bit of, like, it got a little jumpy. Like it was a little wah, wah, wah. And I think that was a little bit of catch and release. More straight at it. Yeah. They hook hard. Yeah, and they are so forward drive preferring forward drive. There's so much drive forward. Like, the maneuverability is brought about by 28.8% and the mullet aspect of it, and an AR-44 axle with no travel stops on it of any kind. So again, relying on that servo to save us. This, it might not be perfect, but it might be as good as it gets. Because ultimately, knowing what need be done and mustering up the gumption to do what need be done are two very different things. Remember when I said that it's those tiny little changes that gets you to 100 miles? In these, it is very much the same, and it is those tiny little changes to get you from 95% to 100%. And a lot of them are not formulaic. They are not based on formula. Because if you're building these, and you build a 2 or 3 or 4 or 10, and they are radically different. I've never built this one before. This is a sort of 10 Pro-ish geometry on an AR-44 axle and a TRX-4 rear axle with a Fusion Mini 16 3000 kV in it, coming in at sub 5 pounds on 5-inch tall tires. And I'm applying as much of my prior building and tuning knowledge as I can, but it's kind of its own thing. So if you throw it all at the wall, everything doesn't stick. Some of it sticks. So what do we need to do tuning-wise to get where we want to go? I know that with a 5-inch tall tire, I would prefer a bit more link separation at the axle. TRX4 link riser, there has to be one. There has to be one. Because the link separation on a TRX4 is going to be geared towards a canyon trail, and it would absolutely make sense that that be the case, because that's what it comes with. So I need about another, the width of a link, I need another 4 or 5 millimeters of separation optimally. What do we need to do in the front? I don't know. It's very, very good. We went to 95% really fast. And let's be real simple and plain. Let's be honest with ourselves and others. Are we honestly at 95%? Center cut tumble door will tell me. What do we look like? Can we do it? So, yeah, we are in and or around those last few tuning percentages. I think the tire and insert are as close to a Fassbender meme as we can venture. They do not feel like they are 5 inches tall. They feel somehow better on the trigger than the Sabre did, and I feel like that has to be just the amount of forward drive, because I'm not having to modulate throttle nearly as much with these, because you almost steady state it and it just goes. That would be a 5 out of 5 tumble door points were this cab scoring, and then in descending it is a mullet. So it doesn't matter that the tires are 5 inches tall. None of that stuff matters. It just do. I would easily, readily, and comfortably switch to 6mm hubs on the back of this. Call it a day. Pull it down to about 250 front, 246, 247 rear. You ever get that long build up to a sneeze where you do the like 5, 6, 7 times, and then it just goes away, and then it just leaves your head feeling kind of tingly? That's where I am right now. So, the Banshee, half painted, but near completely tuned just by random happenstance. Never forget, an idiot in a shed, a blind squirrel finding a nut, learning to play piano in Groundhog Day just because he had done it 10,000 times. I can't remember. What did they say? That Phil had been in there for like the equivalent of how many hundreds of years? Like 300 years. Then I read one that said it was 1,000 years. Sometimes that's how I feel. I oscillate back and forth between Ferris Bueller, never had one lesson, and I learned to play the piano because I just did it 1,000 times. Achieving mastery, right? We're all in what, to some degree, whatever degree you choose, we're all in some way or another trying to achieve mastery over something. I wouldn't say that I'm there. I would say the sneezies are driving me back inside. Can we get out of that? I'm going to kill that servo, man. Something on this guy's going to die because I treat this guy a little too brisk. So, thank you so much for joining. If you have a preference or a suggestion for a wheel combo for this gentleman, let me know. These were the heaviest by what? 4 grams? These were what, 676? Not surprising and not surprising that it was only 4 grams, and look how much bigger they are. So I think that if we were to combine the Injora Golden Chromes with these, I think the weight would go up too high. I think we'd add another 30, 40 grams of weight, maybe, probably more. Could be about 80 grams of weight because that tire and that insert are much smaller and lighter. And I think we might ruin the whole, it might be the bad apple that ruins the batch. Look at her go. Forward driving into the future. Banshee. Razor wires. Having a home. These are Tranquish's old wheels. It's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I need to finish painting. I need to thank you so much for watching. I need to advise that in between now and when we meet again, you want to do your best. Have a good one, everybody. I'll see you in the comments. I'll see you on the live streams. I'll see you in all the old familiar places. Banshee, once again, scream us out.